Hi, this is Grace from Zollie, sharing our troubleshooting tips for common challenges people often run into while making amigurumi crochet. If you've made your way here because you're stuck, we hope this video helps you find some answers. And remember, learning isn't a process and perfection isn't the goal. Troubleshooting problems is part of the process of growing new skills. In this video, I'll be talking about how to figure out where you are if you get lost in a row or in the pattern in general, and what to do if you find that you have the wrong number of stitches in a row. Let's dive in. So a common problem is to lose your place within a round that you're working on, or to forget exactly which round you are on. If you've been working the pattern without having to reference your paper pattern for a while, you might need to figure out what row you are on or round you are on so that you can make sure you're not missing part of the instructions when it's time to increase or decrease. So if you are, so for instance here, I'm working in a round that is an increase round, and I maybe put the work down and need to come back. This is a single crochet 2 and then make 1 increase. So if I need to know what to do within my next stitch, I can look back. When you are working with the stitches, you can see this is 1 stitch, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet. So then I would know that this one needed to be an increase. And I can tell that I've worked 2 since the last increase. If you look very closely, you can see there are 2 stitches here in 1 hole. So that was an increase, and these 2 were single. Single crochet, increase right there. You could also count back how many stitches you have in the row by looking at the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that way, back to the beginning. That's especially helpful if you haven't been increasing. Or you could also just go ahead and carefully undo your work, pulling this working yarn here and go all the way back to the stitch marker, which marks the very first stitch in a round. So you could just start your row over if you weren't sure that you had the right number of increases going around. So if you get lost in the overall pattern, you could orient yourself by going back to a last round that had some type of identifying characteristic and counting forward. So if I was working on my piece and I had changed colors, or I had a round that had increases like this, I could say that I would know, for instance, let's say that that was a round 21, and then you count how many rounds forward you are from that round where you did a bunch of increases or you changed colors or something like that. You can also go back to the magic ring and just count how many rounds you have made since then. So the magic ring round, that's like the very beginning of your work, that is considered 1 round, round 1. So you can count forward from that. What I suggest is picking a straight line to count from to figure out what round you are working on. So if you were to count from here, I would just pick a spot and count straight. I would have 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds coming out of this spot. 1, 2, 3, 4. And because this 4th round that I'm working on hasn't gotten all the way to the end, I would know I'm still in the middle of the 4th round. But if you had just only stopped right at the end of the round here, it would still be 3. So 1, 2, 3. But then once this completes to there, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how you can orient yourself from the beginning of the work, or you can count forward in that same way from a last round that has an identifying characteristic. So another common problem that people run into is discovering that they have the wrong number of stitches within a round. And you can Do this by counting at the end of your round to make sure that there are enough stitches, but sometimes we aren't careful in that way, or we've made a mistake within a round, and a way you might figure it out is actually exactly what happened here. So I started this sample of the top of Marty the Duck's head for this troubleshooting video, and the pattern is supposed to be, for this round, do 2 single crochets and then an increase. But what's happening here is that I have just done 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and I should increase in this stitch, but then I would actually have 1, 2, and I should have 1 more increase, but I don't have room for that. I only have room to do an increase and 2 stitches here. So that's how I know that I probably have too few stitches in the row before, or that I made a mistake somewhere within this round, and maybe I did 3 single crochets in between an increase. So I'm going to go back and look and say 1, 2, here's an increase, 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 1, 2. And that brings me right back to the start of the round. So I actually know right off the bat that the mistake is not in the round that I was just in. So what I'm going to do is, well, I could just single crochet 1 stitch here and then do 1 increase to bring me up to the right number of stitches at the end of the row. Or if I was working on a decrease, I could kind of do the same thing, but with decreasing stitches. So you can work within the round that you're in to add or subtract stitches by doing increases or decreases, or skipping an increase or decrease so that you have the right number at the end of the round. Or you can just go ahead and undo the work all the way back to the beginning of the round. And I'm going to go ahead and move the stitch marker. And bring it down to here. So that's the first stitch. And count how many stitches I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. But I know that there were supposed to be 18 stitches in that row. So at the end of this third row, there should have been 18 stitches. So I obviously missed something, and I think I can see it right here. It should be an increase and then a single crochet, and then I can see an increase and a single crochet, and it looks like I finished with 1 single crochet here. This should be an increase. So I will go ahead and do 1 more stitch into that increase. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 stitches. So I can move forward with my pattern, and I should have the right number of stitches in the next round. If you find that you made a mistake way back in your work, so you'd gotten a bunch of rows forward and you didn't want to undo your work all the way back to the round that ended up having the wrong number of stitches, you can definitely use that addition or subtraction method to get the right number of stitches. So if I'd made that mistake way back, or I didn't want to undo a bunch of rounds to figure out where I had made that mistake, just having added 1 more increase into the previous round probably would have helped, the one that I ripped out. So instead, I just was able to go back, because this is pretty small, and just figure out where my mistake was. So that's one way of troubleshooting that issue of having the wrong number of stitches. You can either add or subtract stitches, or you can undo back to where the last problem was. And remember that this stitch marker is in the very first stitch of your round, so you've got to count that one as well. We hope that this video helps you address any issues that you might be having, but if not, feel free to email us at hello@zolliemakes.com so we can answer your questions.